I was 17 years old, and like many high school seniors, I was getting ready for prom, graduation, and college. I wanted to be grown, but didn't want any grown folks' responsibilities. Then one day, the course of my life would change with one minuscule decision: at the food court. On this Saturday in April, I was at the mall shopping with my prom date for his tuxedo. And being a teenager in the 2000s, there was only one place I wanted to eat when I went to the mall: Panda Express. If you're Team Sbarro, don't talk to me. I'm looking at you, Kara. I was a month away from graduation, which meant I needed to elevate my palate. I could no longer just eat orange chicken. No, that's too basic. I needed something new, something exotic, like Kung Pao chicken. Now, a few bites in, and my mouth starts to tingle, and I don't think much of it, because usually when that happens, I just drink some water and everything's okay. So that's what I did. I boxed up my leftovers, and we continued to walk around the mall. Then I began to overheat and fill off. I tried to drink some more water and power through, but that lasts maybe 5 minutes before I knew I needed to get out of there. At this time, I was a proper suburbanite, so I lived roughly 10 minutes away from the mall, no highway required. So I felt comfortable driving home, until I got to that first stoplight. At this point, I'm leaned over my center console because I know something is gonna happen, I'm just not sure from where. I called my mom and I let her know I think I'm having an allergic reaction to something, but I'm not sure. I tend to be a very unserious person when it comes to my allergies. I grew up in like a seasonal allergy daze. I'm almost home, and as I'm turning into my neighborhood, I just start to projectile vomit in my car. Luckily, my 2000 Buick Regal had leather seats, and my mother loves me dearly. As I pull into the driveway, she's there waiting for me. I get out of the car, arms outstretched, bawling my eyes out, covered in Panda. She gets me cleaned up, cleans my car and my clothes, gives me Benadryl, and puts me to bed. When I awake hours later, my brother's delightfully eating my leftovers, and that's when we notice the peanuts. We collectively assumed that's what I was allergic to, and that was it. I didn't go to the hospital. There were no allergist visits. I didn't get an EpiPen. I started keeping Benadryl in my car, and I would double check at new restaurants to see if a dish had peanuts. But I continued my life as I did before. My prom mate did call to check on me, and my mom told her family via the family phone tree. Now, up until this day, I can't remember a time where I had eaten a dish containing peanuts. I knew PB&Js had no appeal to me, and if you ate a Reese's cup, you'd have to stand an arm's length back from me because I couldn't stand the smell, but I thought that was just a general dislike for the food. The impact of that day had on my life, I wouldn't realize until years later. I was 26, roughly 4 years out of college, and still unsure what I wanted to do with my life. I was living in a cool part of Indianapolis with my friends, working at cool bars and restaurants, going out, going on vacation, just generally enjoying my 20s, until I wasn't anymore. I got restless and I needed to pivot. I started looking into a career path that I had been exploring since I started college, the military. Now, this was not a spur of the moment decision, and after months preparing, I joined the United States Navy. A part of joining the military is going through the Military Entrance Processing Station, or MEPS. You report all of your information to MEPS: education, medical, legal, familial, everything. So when I got to the question on my paperwork, do you have any allergies? I said yes: nickel, shellfish, and peanuts. I never listed my seasonal allergies, because again, not being able to breathe is just my state of being. One of the recruiters said these allergies might pose a problem, but we'll send it off to MEPS and see what they say. They said nothing. I pass all the other procedures and tests at MEPS, I select my desired job, and I get my date for boot camp. I was in an accelerated group, so boot camp was only gonna be roughly 8 weeks. Now, they do a lot of medical procedures on you the first few weeks of boot camp. They check your eyes, they check your teeth, they check your blood to see how allergic you are to that food you ate in the mall 9 years ago. And the results of that test were off the charts. Apparently, I am very allergic to peanuts. I was a 4+ on the stick post test. The allergists couldn't believe I didn't drop dead right there in the Glenbrook Square food court. At the moment, I was thinking, okay, no big deal. I'll just continue to not eat peanuts. Fun fact, I'm also a 4+ allergic to horses, cats, dogs, and the general outdoors, but not shellfish, even though I broke out in hives at Red Lobster at like 11. Now the Navy, however, they thought those test results were a big deal. Their fear was a sailor whose test shows such a severe allergy will be on a ship, have an allergic reaction, and not reach medical attention in time. A valid fear that I countered with, "It's fine." So I was medically discharged from boot camp. Roughly week 6, day 4, about 10 days before graduation. When you're discharged from Navy boot camp, you don't go home right away. You go through a separations process that can take a minimum of a week. My process took 3 weeks. So I was there longer than if I would have graduated. The whole time, I like to note, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, everyone around me eating PB&J sandwiches. That's when the course of my life changed. I got home right before Christmas, lost. I had signed a 6-year contract. I was ready to start a career, ready to start a new chapter in my life. And now I was back where I was roughly 2 months before, but without a job or a plan. And I didn't have a plan for a while. I went back to serving and bartending, but I was enjoying it less and less. I lived in a less cool part of Indianapolis. I wasn't growing, I wasn't learning, I was just here. That big pivot in my life turned out to be unfruitful, so it was time for another. So I moved across the country to El Paso, Texas with my boyfriend of less than 2 years. He was in the Army National Guard, and since I couldn't go active duty, he might as well. Now, that was a dramatic pivot, but it was the catalyst I needed to keep going. The 3 years in El Paso, we got married, I explored multiple careers, I got a paralegal certificate, I shaved my head for the first time, pull it off. I have found my way to the Junior League via volunteer work in the city. I realized I love nonprofit work, so I started looking into grad school. It turns out Indiana University has the top nonprofit management program in the country, and I got accepted. I'll be completing that master's degree in December and my second one in 2024. And if you ask me right now, Brandi, what do you want to do when you grow up? The answer is not set in stone, and I can't say it here because I'll jinx future Brandi. But no, I have a vision of my future, and I couldn't even imagine that first Christmas home. It may involve me pivoting a few more times, which is not always fun, fruitful, or easy, but there's power in those possibilities, and that's what a pivot truly is.